Well, I was watching the Tour de France last Sunday, the first gravel stage, and it was brilliant. It was one of the most exciting stages I've ever seen in the Tour de France. And not even just the gravel sections. The pace was high, teams fighting for position to make sure they got onto the gravel section first. Because if you didn't, there was a traffic jam. And then Evenepoel and Pogačar decided they would give Vingegaard a little test. Because I don't think they believe he's fit enough to win the Tour. And they tried to break him early. In my opinion, he's keeping his powder dry. Of course, by the time you see this video, it may have all changed. But yeah, they tried to break away, tried to see if they could crack Vingegaard, and they didn't, and he went with them. And then they were all pissed off that he didn't want to race them. Why should he? You've tried to break me, I've gone with you, don't expect me to go and tire myself out now. Just to show a little bit of superiority, a bit of muscle flexing. A long tour, a long way to go. And that's really the point, because that stage was like a one-day race. It's filled with excitement from start to finish. And normally I watch the edited highlights every day of the tour. If I do have it on, I just have the telly on all day and just go in and watch a bit and then go and do something else and carry on like that. And that's what I had planned to do. But I ended up sitting down to start watching it, and I just carried on watching until the end. And it was brilliant. But it's caused a bit of controversy. Should we have gravel stages in the Tour? And a lot of people who saw the excitement and it was a great spectacle said yes, of course. But I didn't. Because like I said, it's great as a one-day race. But should it really be part of a grand tour? And of course, as there's more and more money involved in sport these days, they have to do more and more to keep the sponsors happy, to keep the viewership up and keep people more engaged. Because grand tours are about endurance and having riders having mechanicals on gravel stages and teams wearing their riders out, racing like one-day races on stages. Sure, it makes it more of a spectacle, but it's kind of against what the tour is about. I suppose it's the same with cricket. I'm not a cricket watcher, but 5 days of cricket, it's difficult to keep people entertained for that long. So then they came up with limited overs. But even then, some people thought it was too long to watch a cricket match for a day. They decided to come up with a 20-20. 20 overs each side. It's a different game. It's played in a different way. And I think that's the point. One-day racing is different to grand tour. I mean, if you had a cricket test match over 5 days, but then in the middle of it See, right, we're going to have a day of limited overs. It's neither one thing nor the other. And everything these days is about pushing the boundaries and testing the limits. You see, what we saw in that stage of the tour was what I consider to be gravel riding. I ride a gravel bike, so I can go pretty much where I want. And it works quite well on the road, as you can see. And then it works quite well on the gravel. It makes it a great all-rounder. And probably I do the same sort of percentage as they did in the tour. 200 k's of riding, 30 odd k's of gravel. And a lot of people now get their gravel bikes and see if they can take on mountain bike trails. People using their road bikes as gravel bikes. I watched a YouTube video of a guy that bought a giant Defy so he could ride gravel. And it just seems strange to me. If your primary aim is to ride gravel, why not get a Revolt? And it seems to be a thing. I don't know if it's just in cycling or in the modern world in general, but the idea of pushing things to the absolute limit of their capability. And ironically, this is at a time when we have more choice than ever. When I started cycling, you had two types of bike. You had a flat handlebar bike, generally fixed gear, and you had what we refer to as a racer, a bike with drop handlebars and gears. In America they called them a 10-speed, because that's generally how many gears you got then. 5 on the back, 2 on the front. You've got aero bikes, you've got climbing bikes, endurance bikes, gravel bikes, cross-country mountain bikes, enduro mountain bikes, hardtail, full suspension. It really is a tool for every job in cycling now, for every little niche. And yet this is the time where people have decided to try and take a bike that's inappropriate for the job and try and push it to the limit. And then on the other end of the scale, on Facebook groups, I see people asking if you can put road tyres on a gravel bike. I've even seen someone asking if you could put road tyres on a mountain bike. Seems to me, whatever people have got, they want something else. I mean, you know, don't take me wrong, I'm not criticising, I'm just curious as to why it happens. And each to his own. If you found a niche maybe that the manufacturers haven't thought of, you want a road bike with suspension because you ride on rough roads, I don't know. But that's up to you. I'm not criticising anybody for what they do with their bike. I'm just interested in why. So, if you're using a bike for something completely different to what it was designed for, let me know. I'm really interested. I'm interested to know, did you find that there wasn't a bike that was suited to your riding? Or did you get the wrong bike and then find you were going to do a different sort of riding? Or is it just a challenge? Is it just a challenge to see how much you can do with the equipment that you've got? Or is it the fact that we're all looking for utopia. We all want one bike that can do everything really well. And I'm afraid it doesn't exist. As a friend of mine once said, there's no such thing as an all-rounder. A double cab pickup is limited as a pickup and uncomfortable as a car. An adventure motorbike has limited off-road capability and is pretty unpleasant to ride on the road. I mean, as I've said before, I love cycling. I like all kinds of cycling. But maybe it's just me. Perhaps I'm not that adventurous. I don't go pushing boundaries too far. Still, as long as you're out there and on a bike and enjoying yourself, that's all that counts really.